Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another FMCentral FM weekly show. Tonight it's me, myself and I, and Ryan and Ben.
Good evening.
So thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Once again, we're going to get down into some interesting discussions about tactics later on for the third week in a row. But we first going to go on to training just to pull away from tactics. So I'm going to pass over to Ryan to get this topic started.
Yeah, I thought it was just be an interesting topic because a lot of things that people don't seem to take into account on FM is the training is vitally important, especially for the young players. And I found that out on my save where I had quite a lot of young players at Benfica B. I needed to train them to get on playing in certain positions because they were very weak in even in their set position. You still had a yellow circle, so player training, which is a massive thing. And I know Ben has a few images which he can show us if Paul is nice enough to show the images that he sent in earlier.
Yeah.
I assume this is one of the players that you've been training up, Ben, I assume?
Yes, I just wanted to show that one because, as you can see, William there, he's not very happy. He's an unhappy player, but he's still progressing in training. So I just wanted to show that because I've heard a lot of people say things like the players have to be in good spirits, morale has to be high, and things like that. And his morale is high despite him being unhappy. So there are things you can do as long as you get your training right to keep developing players and keep improving them.
I think his training looks fantastic. I'm just going to jump on your training for just to continue the discussion there, Ben. Because as you can see there, he had a lot of green stats. There's a couple more people there, and we can just jump on there and just see that you've got fitness and match tactics going.
That's actually my pre-season training for that one.
Okay, do you want to just explain?
My normal training is the number one image, if you go to that one.
Number one image, yeah.
Yeah, that's my training during the season. So after pre-season, while everything's going ahead, I have it. I've basically, if our guests from last week are listening again, I've basically used the advice that Cleon gave on the Sports Interactive forums of during the season you want to have balanced and low for your like general what was it called, the focus, is that the main, for the main focus you want general balanced and low, and then you can do everything on individual training, because I find that's the way you get the most out of the players. And I forgot to do a screenshot of my individuals, but they've all got kind of it's difficult to describe. Like some of them are on role training, some of them are on a specific stat. What I do is I do my pre-season training, which is all very general, and then as soon as the season starts, whack it on balanced low. And then I go through every player and I look at, okay, what does he really need to work on in order to either A, get the best out of him to then sell him on, or B, to get the best out of him to help him improve in his position, or something that is weak in his game, or something where I feel like he could be a better player if he was better in certain stats, things like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I did with what's his name? Takayuki Seto. If you go to number 4, image 4.
Image 3, but I've got him here.
Image 4 is the one I want. First.
Image 4, oh, come on. There we go.
So you can see that's his individual instructions within my formation, and it looks like the goalkeeper selected right now, but I think that was just a graphical error because he's actually the left-sided central midfielder, or the right-sided, one of the two. But anyway, I've asked him to roam from his position and to close down a lot more. So to that end, I've got him working on an all-round role for, I think it was a box-to-box midfielder, because I noticed that would improve his acceleration. So if you go back to number 3 image, you can see that his anticipation and his acceleration have improved quite a lot recently. Yeah. So that's going to make him a much better player for the role I want in central midfield. So that's just an example of how you can tailor a player to become the player you want.
He's a fantastic player, mind.
I know, he's brilliant. I love him.
He's one of them players you want in central midfield with the work rate, teamwork, determination, stamina, natural fitness.
Yeah, he's excellent, yeah.
They're stats which will get me very excited. I'm just going to go back to the image 1. You were just saying there, I think his Twitter is Cleon81. I think it's 81. We are following him, so if you message us on Twitter, we can then forward you on to him. He's a fantastic guy, he writes some really good articles. But yeah, I've never used balancing and low. I always assume that I've got to go with one or the other. I always go with defending for the general training, and then on match day I go attacking. That's my normal philosophy.
Well, if you look at the happiness, they're all pretty content with what they're doing, and I've got them all on some pretty heavy training. I have it on low for the team, for the whole team, but then the individual is all on heavy, but their actual full workload is only medium, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're all happy with it. But you can see that I took this right just before a game, and it had been a game in the midweek, so it's not exactly the best example, but my squad fitness is actually quite decent. I've only got 3 players who are tired.
Yeah.
And that's because they played two games in a week. Only 2 are injured, both during a game, nothing from training. And the rest of them are all doing okay, except the players who I don't want, hence lacking match fitness. But there's, as long as you get the good basics of training right, then you're set up for the season. Then this is why I hear every time I go on the site and people are complaining about injuries, it's all down to your pre-season training. If they weren't ready for the season, they are going to get injured.
Yeah.
There's just no 2 ways about that.
Yeah, there's a lot who I think misunderstand the intensity of how they have the training.
Absolutely.
Or they'll have it on high fitness during the season.
Yeah.
And then by the time they've played a few games, the players are just getting injured left, right, and centre.
Yeah, they'll be knackered. And if you push them too hard at the beginning of pre-season, the same thing will happen. You've got to kind of ease them in, and then you can absolutely batter them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Ryan, what about yourself? Your match training for the level that you're playing at, how do you handle it?
I'm exactly the same as you. I've never really set general and low, but from what Ben has set there, it seems very balanced. With all the players, he's got happy, the general training being low, and then the individual training being set to heavy. Was it heavy, Ben?
Yeah, heavy.
Which it seems to balance it out, obviously, to a medium, so they're not overtraining themselves, and their training together is just all whatever you want to set. And you got to think, balanced training, they're going to work on everything, but not attackers going to be training on defending. It's just all balanced. I've always been exactly the same as Paul, but I always seem to do it. I look at who I'm playing next, and then if I'm playing someone who, it usually happens on my save, is if anyone's following my save, I seem to always be at a club that's struggling in some way. They're always the opposition are better than me, so most of the time I've had it on defending, and then because my players can't seem to adapt to my tactics, I always seem to have match tactics on until it gets to accomplished, which I don't know if we have any images of the match screen anywhere from Ben. Which I think image 1, 2, 3.
Screen? What do you mean?
The tactics screen.
Oh yeah, it's image.
This one?
It's in there.
No, the other one.
Number 8.
That one. At the top, you'll see it will say accomplished for the tactic. I keep match tactics on. I keep that on until they're accomplished in that tactic. Which at Benfica B, if anyone knows, I'll talk about it later. That never ever got to accomplish, and I was there for a couple of months, and they just never seem to be happy. And
you can get that in pre-season. Like you can get them all up, not quite up to fluid, but at least accomplished just by working on it in pre-season.
It never seemed to happen unless I had a lot of players that just couldn't seem to adapt, or they just didn't like me.
Oh, fair enough.
That's going to be my excuse. But training, I think a lot of people make the mistake where, especially with individual training, there's always that simple option at the very bottom to let the assistant do it. That's something I don't even consider, because your assistant will make some, especially in the lower leagues where the assistant doesn't have very good stats, they'll make some silly decisions for what he wants to train them on.
Yeah.
And especially when I was talking to Paul earlier about what tactic I should be using, because I wanted a defensive midfielder to try and save my job. I had none. But there was one player that I thought, he's yellow in defensive mid, so I thought, I'll train him there, see how he does. Set him. Still didn't bother. So it's difficult training, but you just have to keep trying, and eventually players will get used to how you want them to train. And then, as Ben said, I think earlier in the week, if they don't like your intensity of training, they're off at the club and he'll find someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a load of players on FM if you've got a big, massive database. I think I've got 84,000 players on the game, and then you've got to think regens are going to come through, so you can easily find someone to suit your style of training and your style of tactics.
Absolutely, because it's players who win you the games. The tactics will only get you so far.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'll just quickly jump down the side, lads. Just a few people have commented. TVOTR podcast says, Daniel here, hope I've not missed a lot. No, just getting into it, Paul, just talking tactics. Training, sorry. Steve's come on. He said, hi lads, first, good to have the three of you. Secondly, me and Ryan spoke yesterday about how my players weren't getting stuck in, and it's just my screen's jumped. But he's noticed that they still don't do things when I change it. That's just poor management, Steve.
James, has Steve got any contradictory team instructions?
For when he showed me his instructions, he had done, and I'm sure Paul said this week, he had closed down more on, which Paul said last week doesn't seem to work. So I told him to change it to close down more. I think he set it, but they're still getting stuck in, but not as much.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a match engine error, that something's not right in the coding somewhere that SI need to look at, but
I have my guys told to push literally individual and team to just close down as much as they can, and they still don't do it at times. Lee Isaac said, hey, James is plugging the Football Manager WizKids database on our website, footballmanagercentral.com/the Football Manager WizKids FM15. He said, plug the transfer database to FMC's most downloaded, try it out. Always looking for a plug, James, pal. Right, back onto the team instructions. I'm going to go down clicked on the wrong thing. I'm going to go down a different line of talking about how you set up where you have the balance and then you go with player instructions, Ben.
Yeah.
The reason I'm going to look at it differently is my save at the minute I'm doing on the YouTube channel FMCentral. I'm playing so far down in the lowest reaches in Scotland. I think it's level 7, I think it is. My players do not have the ability to... This might sound silly, but I don't think they have the ability to even waste my time trying to individually train them. All my focus is on making these guys play well as a team. And just get the best out of them as a team. I mean, there's a lot of them who have... My wingers have stats of 5 and 6 for dribbling and crossing, etc. A couple of people, for example, my star central midfielder has 11 for passing and first touch. But a lot of stats are around the 2 and 3 mark.
Yeah. So
basically, what I did this with Jay last year on FM14 with his son on his KR save. He asked me for some advice on how to do the training on him. You've just got to focus basically on what they're good at if they are so poor. So I've got my guy training on his passing, because when the other stats are the stats of 1 and 2 and 3, they're not even worth touching, and a lot of people spend a lot of seasons trying to develop them stats.
Don't waste your time with a player who isn't who you want. Just get someone who is.
Well, at the level I'm at, this guy's actually fantastic. He's playing so well, but so all I'm doing, I have him on low training on his passing and his first touch, rotating it, and they've both gone up by 1 stat already.
That's good.
But the rest of the stats, they're not worth touching, and a lot of people waste so much time trying to get them stats up. Where I'd recommend, if you're playing in the lowest levels, just focus on the stats they're already good at. You'd rather have someone who has 15 and 16 at passing and is an absolute wizard in the middle of the pitch than have somebody who's decent at passing and rubbish at everything else.
I think you're dead right there. Then you can have a team full of specialists.
Yeah. I mean, I just focus mainly on team training. I've just got maybe 3 or 4 people set individual. I'll actually, on tomorrow's video I'll upload, I'm going to actually show some of my team and player training. So, leading on from this discussion, if people watch that video, they'll see how I've got all set up. But
I think
go
a
on.
lot of people have to take into account in the lower leagues, the facilities that you have and the level of facilities are always going to affect your training. If
Yeah.
you've got someone like Man United who's going to have, I think it goes to top class, is at the top on FM? I can't remember what it is, but they're going to have brilliant facilities. Down in where Paul is, which is Dunes, and where I am now in Portugal, they have poor facilities, basic youth facilities. Training's going to be a lot different, and as Paul said, focus on the things they're good at, bring them up, and then the others will possibly follow with it, because some stats do link together, and they'll go up together.
One thing I would say is in the low levels, one of the key stats is pace. And also crossing is so over the top on Football Manager 15, which we know. And even on the latest patch, I've played 2 games since that patch has come out, and I've scored 5 goals from crosses still. Because I'm focusing my team on what they're good at. I have wingers who have 14 for pace, so I've been training them on the crossing, and the crossing's up to 9 now. Which, I mean, 9 for crossing isn't really that bad. I mean, it's average, isn't it? 9 out of 20, you're looking average. So get them focusing on an attribute which is perfect for that position. If they've got good pace, just get them focusing on crossing and just tell them to get the ball in early. On player instructions, set it to get the ball in early. So they're just picking the ball up. They might run past one man and cross it in. They won't try to dribble to the byline. They won't try to cut inside. They'll just get past the defender and then cross it.
That's a good tactic, but that only if you have somebody in the box. Because if you're playing with a single man up front on a support role, he's less likely to be in there.
Good tactic for that is my 4-4-2, the resurrecting 4-4-2 on the website. Cheers, Ben. Good plug there.
No worries.
What's next, Ryan? Do you want to talk more on this?
Yeah, I'm just going to link back to the player training, and the thing I was just thinking of it as you were just talking then. When I'm setting player training, I always look back. We were talking last week about looking at the analysis, but looking at the analysis of the tactics. You can also, on the analysis, you can look at how players have been playing in a certain game, so you can check how their tackling has been, how their passing has been. So if you're training a certain player to pass the ball more, you can check after a game in the analysis section if their passing completion has been up, which shows that your training is working. If it's not, then you need to look at something else, or keep them on that training and keep checking if their passing is being increased. It's just on FM you need to check everything you do. Keep checking, keep looking back, because you can fit. You're a manager. You're in control of everything.
I keep drilling. I actually drill this into people. Anything from the team checking the average positions. This screen I'll bring up now. Bear with me 1 second, I'll bring it up. I always drill into people to check this after every match, check the passing percentage, check the individual players. Go on your match screen, you can go to stats, you can go to the team you're managing, and you get the full list of stats and tells you the passing from the key passing to the intercepted, from everything. And check every play. If you're losing matches, find out why. Don't just sit there and blame the game. So many people post, for example, a screenshot where they've had 20 shots and the other team's had 4, and they say guess the score. We see loads of them on our Facebook group, and
someone did that this week. I think I just posted on where I don't think it was shots, but it was more they had 60 plus possession and the other team had 30 odd. I literally just got a screenshot of the Crystal Palace Liverpool game from last weekend. It went boom. There you go. Liverpool had 63% possession. Did they win the game? No, they didn't.
People are very quick to blame Football Manager, but if you actually look into it, there's normally a reason behind it. What you'll find is maybe your defensive midfielders getting passes intercepted all the time, which is then leaving you 2-on-2, for example. Or for example, as we've discussed, I'm playing very low down. I've got it set that my goalkeeper distributes to the fullbacks. In the last match, I conceded 2 goals because my goalkeeper distributed. And my fullback decided, instead of passing it short like I told him to do, his decision stat was so low that he just kept kicking it. quite far forward, and he kept getting intercepted, and then they scored. It was so frustrating. I mean, I don't know if you have that situation where if your player has low decisions, he ends up just not doing what you tell him to do.
It's a killer, isn't it?
Oh, it's so frustrating, Ben. I mean, you tell them pass it short, and they're kicking along. I've actually dropped a player now for someone with higher decision stat, and he seems a bit better. But now I've got the issue on the other fullback, who seems to, once again, he seems to think he can play that killer ball to my striker every time he gets it.
The one I hate is central midfielders with low numbers for bravery, because they are a waste of space.
They're a waste of space if your defender clears a corner, it's going to the edge of the box, and it's a 50-50 run into the ball, because you'll find they just run over the ball, and exactly. the opposition picks it up, edge of the box, clear shot. Yep. Just remember, don't blame. A lot of people blame the match engine, but the match engine is designed on the stats. If the stats say, for example, your player has 5 for bravery and the opposition has 15, what you'll find in a 50-50, instead of the match engine trying to create a 50-50 bone crunching challenge, you'll find that your player will just literally run over the ball and the opposition will collect the ball. It's not a glitch in the match engine, it's just the basics of the match engine. Football Manager haven't designed a FIFA-style match engine where you're going to see bone-crunching tackles and what you see now in FIFA, where there's like players actually colliding with each other. It's not going to happen in Football Manager. People need to remember that, and just remember that it's built on the stats. When players are just running over each other, it's actually the stats going against each other. I don't know if that makes sense, Ben.
It does to me. I always look at attributes. It means everything in the game.
I just jumped on the side there. James has obviously been very nice. He must want me to plug his database games, because he said you guys are talking sense here. It's due to laziness why people don't do some of this stuff, but then they can't complain about it. Steve's been on. He said, hang on, just check on up. He said also shoot on side is a good thing to use that far down. Goalkeepers are shy. They are, but also so the strikers. I mean, one of my strikers had a first-time shot from a corner, and he put out for a throw-in. And it was back the way it came as well. It wasn't across his body. He literally just kicked it back. Daniel's been back on. I'm actually curious what TVOTR podcast is now. I'm going to have to check that out once I've finished. He remembers going through a patch where he dominated 60 and 70% possession, but was losing because he spent too much time passing the ball, not creating chances. That's sometimes an issue. You'll find that 40% of that 60% is in your defence, and you'll find your fullback, as we've discussed with the decisions, he'll make the wrong decision, passing infield, and then
slow build-up play as well, I reckon.
Yeah, and then you just get counter-attacked. I'm just thinking what we'll do is we'll jump onto this screen. Ben, do you want to just talk a little bit about this?
Oh, that's my team instructions that I'm using for my
for this tactic?
For my 4-5-1, because I feel like I've got a nice balance here. I like to play a pressing game with a high line, which is why I have a sweeper keeper.
Yep.
The idea behind it is to get I use a false 9 up front, and I want him chasing down the opposition goalkeeper. So he's got high stats for fitness and acceleration and all that sort of stuff. I've got the rest of the team closing down more. I find much more is a little too gung-ho for my guys. They're not quite as resolute enough to do that. But I like the combination of close down more and get stuck in, because they really do get right in the faces of their opponents and work hard to get the ball back.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I put it on be more disciplined, because although I've got a cautious mentality, which is going to encourage more patient football, I want them to stay in their positions rather than once they fly. Because I'm telling them, it's kind of contradictory. I'm telling them to fly out of position to get to the man on the ball as quickly as possible. But I thought by putting there, be more disciplined, that it would kind of balance it out a bit. At least that's the idea. It's working, so I'm going to see how it goes for now. But these things are always a work in progress. But I wanted to show this just to say that you only need to have a few instructions to make a tactic work. It doesn't have to be everything's all lit up in green like many are.
Yeah, I think mine's 6 or 7. I think normally it's between 6 and 8. I do think there you've got to be more disciplined and close down more, get stuck in. I think that's a good combination because they're going to be pushing hard, they're going to be tackling hard, but they're going to do it with some common sense about them because they'll be more disciplined. You'd hope. And also to prevent short goalkeeper distribution and be more disciplined work well together because you tell your goalkeeper to use common sense basically.
Well, I can show you it's working because if you go back to the 7th image with the average positions,
yep.
That's how well they kept their shape in that particular game, which I absolutely decimated my opponents, and that was with all those instructions on. So they were pressing, they were closing down really quickly, but they were still disciplined in their shape, and you can see how the false 9 really helped out his midfield, so it kind of created more of a diamond than it looks like on the main image in image 8. Because on the 8th image it looks like they're a bit more far apart.
Yeah.
But actually, when it played out during the game, the wingers were a bit further back than they present themselves, or at least how it looks on the image. So that I just wanted to post those two aside each other, just to show that the image that you have when you're building a tactic is really just a kind of base defensive shape. It's not the actual shape you're going in the game. Your average positions show you where your players are for most of the time during the game.
That's
because I know we were talking about this before, but
I'm just saying that just quickly. Again, it's going to be something we discussed last week, but I just want to bring this up. If we look here, Ben, on this screen, you can see your number 10 and your number 9, who you obviously substitute each other. What you were saying there, your false 9, you want him to come back and help your midfield. That's what you just said there.
Yep.
He actually, between them two, they ran the second highest out of the whole team at 12.9. And then also what you'll find is the person we were discussing, Seto, with the very high work rate, very high determination, etc., ran the furthest on the pitch.
Yeah.
So once again, it is proven and showing that the stats and the instructions you give people do work hand in hand. So people need to remember to check the work rate, check the determination. Check
the midfield
stats.
is so important to me. They are going to control the tempo for the entire game, so you've got to get those positions right.
What's number 20? Yes. That's. I was just going to say there. Hang on 1 second. I'm looking at the number 8. What did he? Okay, did the wrong way around there. See, Seto is playing left centre mid on the average positions.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say I was wondering what the roles they were playing, because as you can see he's ran just under 1 kilometre more than his other midfield partner.
They have the same roles. They're both on central midfield support, but Seto will always have roam from position and close down much more.
Okay.
Whereas I'm not sure who his partner was in that game, but I always tend to do just roam on the other one, so he doesn't have the close down much more because his work rate isn't as high.
Yeah.
So I figured that's a nice balance between the two. And then because they've got the defensive midfielder behind them, or the halfback in this case, he provides that support so they can fly around over the pitch, the two of them, knowing that they've got that defensive cover behind them. I would never do that with a 2-man midfield. I can only do this with 3.
I mean, I'm quite surprised that your halfbacks actually run further than your fullbacks, which I was surprised by when I first looked at that. But I suppose it shows that he's covering across and he's making sure you get a solid line. But we'll jump on. We'll just ask Ryan, where are we going next? Is he still there? Is he gone?
No, I'm here.
I
You
thought
were just jumping. I couldn't hear you.
I thought he just fell asleep.
I can hear you now.
Where are we going next? Lee's just asked, can he download this tactic from anywhere? Well, I will speak to Ben after the show about the possibility of him uploading it, but we'll have to see, because some people do like to keep the tactics personal.
Oh, I don't mind. I mean, it's pretty specific to the team I'm using, but you're welcome to try it. I'll put it together after this.
There you go. See? Fantastic. Right, Ryan, where are we going, sir?
I think now's a great time to talk about the FM giveaway that we've all set on FM Central.
Sure,
Put it right there.
you can do this one, yeah. Good plug, you got
Well,
the group correct.
If you say what we did, and then I'll announce the winner and read the winning post.
Oh, fantastic. Well, basically, we set up a competition yesterday. It was short notice, but we wanted to see who was desperate to get their hands on Football Manager 2015, a free giveaway that we were doing. And the idea was we wanted people to email us with their story or description of their best ever Football Manager save. And the idea was to just tell us any way they wanted. They could have just said, I sat on my computer and I did this. You could describe it any way you wanted, maximum of 1,000 words. The winning post was under 500 words. I checked it earlier, so you'll be actually surprised when he reads it out. That's under 500 words long. But yeah, just tell us about your best ever Football Manager save. So do you want to read the winning post and then announce the winner afterwards?
Yeah, this is the winning post, and we'll start now. The story started in July 2011 when I took the job at Luton Town, which appeared to be the first time I had dropped to the lower leagues in Football Manager. It was a great year. We finished third with 89 points and went up via the playoffs with a 3-1 win over Wrexham. So if Nicholas is looking, Wrexham aren't that good. We were returning to the Football League. The first year in League Two was something of a dream. Even though we had a terrible start, we stormed our way through the league, eventually winning on the last day on goal difference with 102 points, which meant somehow, with a team that was pretty much the same as we played with in the Blue Square Prem, we managed to show some domination and we were heading to League One. This was the year I knew I was doing it right. We got a new chairman, money invested, and managed to pull a few Championship players down to play. We started poorly and I was nervous, and I changed the team around, brought youngsters into the first team, dropped veterans who served us the previous years, and we eventually went on other forms, and we won the league by 1 point. Luton was back in the Championship. This is where we hit the wall. A team was not much different from the Blue Square Prem within the Championship, and the first year was torture. We avoided relegation on the first day against Doncaster, who got relegated. So during the summer, sold most of the team, brought in a new team, and we got to the playoff finals, somehow going down 1-0 to Coventry. Go the Coventry. Eventually, the next season, he played Coventry again in the playoff final, won 3-1. Luton defied the odds and was in the Premier League. And he's got a rundown of his 7 years in the Premier League. Year 1, he finished 17th, avoiding relegation by 1 point. Year 2, he finished 10th. Year 3, he finished 4th. Year 4, 6th. Year 5, 7th. Year 6, 4th again. Year 7, 10th. And in the next period, over the next few years, he won the Europa Cup, the Super Cup, and 7 League Cups. And then he sent us in some nice screenshots to prove what he'd actually won. And he stayed at Luton from 2011 till 2023, and then moved on to Sevilla. And the winner is, it'd be good to announce the name, wouldn't it? Daniel Schofield.
Fantastic. So if Daniel's listening, which I think he is, if that's who I think the podcast person is, she'll be happy to hear that he's won. It sounded like a great save, Ben, because he went up a few promotions. He didn't have it all his own way, so he had to battle at times.
Yeah, sounds like fun. Well done.
Yeah, well done. Congratulations, and contact me via Facebook or email us, depends how fast you want it. Ryan, where we go next? We've got 10 minutes to go left.
Well, we can talk about pre-season now, which is a lot of people, and the reason why was a lot of people tend to ignore pre-season and how important it actually is.
A lot of people get the assistant manager to do, which I have no idea.
Yeah,
it's exactly risky for me.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I've took over a club. Set assistant manager. It's like, what? Pre-season. I will define pre-season myself, and then you can go. You come into a club. I set my training, which we've discussed. Then I set, on average, between 4 and 10 pre-season games. It depends, because some what I find is some leagues, when you come in, you don't have that long. You maybe only have 4 weeks, and I'd rather get a lot of training pitch stuff done. And if I have a couple of easier games to start the season off, I will only set 4 pre-season games because I'll count them as a couple of practice games as well, if I know I'm going to pick up points, which sometimes goes backwards. But it's basically, I just try to hit training hard, get the fixtures done, try to rotate as much as I can. But yeah, I don't understand why people don't play pre-season. From the second season, I always get between 8 and 10 pre-season games and try to rotate as much as I can. I also try to drop people down into the under-21s for fixtures as well. So what about yourself, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I always, if anyone who ever checks my post, you'll always see I always post about what I've done during pre-season and what I've been looking for. And I think on every single pre-season, I've always got, I'm assessing players, I'm assessing players, I'm assessing players. At every club I've been at, yes, I've been sacked 5 times, but I'm always assessing players and where. Let's not laugh at me, but always assess your players during pre-season because then you'll know. Don't go in. Some people set their friendlies, but then they either, if they have a skin that has instant result on, they'll go instant result because it's pre-season. Pre-season is where, and I'm sure you'll both agree with this, if you have a tactic that you want to use, you can see if that tactic is working. And also, which I think we can discuss next week, pre-season is where you can gain a lot of money with the friendlies that you play. If you play against large reputation teams, which I tend to try and do to get a bit more money in the lower leagues, you'll get a bit of money because you're going away. If you play at home, you've always got the cost of your stadium upkeep, you've got to pay the players and everything else. It's more money that goes towards pre-season. It's vitally important to me.
Them details are actually in the finance guide I released, which was the fan site post of the week a couple of weeks ago. It actually explains about pre-season, how to save money, and also about the discussion. I actually left the fixtures out because it's changed slightly from FM14. When you're travelling away from home, the travel costs have changed slightly, so I didn't want to put that in until I'd assessed it a bit more. But you did bring up a very, very good point there about the away travelling for pre-season games.
What about you, Ben? What do you do during pre-season?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I follow the Cleon guide, which is breaking pre-season down into 4 things: morale, fitness, tactical familiarity, and team cohesion. So to get all of those to where you want them to be, you need to set between 8 and 10 friendlies, as you guys have already said. You want to play the weakest teams you possibly can, and I know this is a bit of a sore point for some, because some feel completely the opposite way. They want to play the best teams that they can, but the argument that Cleon uses, and one that I found a lot of success with, is that getting their morale high is going to just lead to better results, happier players, and happier players are going to make everything better for you in the long run. What's the point in playing a really tough game against really tough opponents and just getting them all upset and having a hard time getting their morale back again? Tactical familiarity is probably the most important thing. It's so tempting to be lazy during preseason, and even for this Astra one that I'm playing now, when I was at my 6th or 7th, I was just thinking, come on, I just want to start the season now and get it going. But it is worth it just to watch the games play out and see who's working, see who isn't, look for little partnerships between players and things like that. That's the sort of stuff that you don't have time to look at during the season because it's too late. Points are on the line, cups are on the line. You can't kind of work on that stuff anymore. I mean, of course, it's always a work in progress when you're making a tactic and running a team, but pre-season, I mean, all bets are off. You can basically do whatever the hell you like. So experiment, try something, get a couple of tactics on the go, get your players playing them, rotate them, get their fitness up. It'll all come together. But I've got if you go to the what was it, 5th image. That's my pre-season setup. If you're still on there, Paul. If you're still on that.
1 second. There we go.
It's, if you want to get technical, it's I stick it on fitness and high for the first couple of weeks just to get that set in, and then I switch to a rotation of tactics and fitness, until the assistant manager or whoever it may be tells me that my familiarity with my tactics is good and my players are getting fit. And then I put it on team cohesion, because remember that when you sign players, that your tactical familiarity will go down and team cohesion can in pre-season. And if you look at the customized scheduling tab or whatever it is in the middle of the screen, I turn off rest before and after a game, but I just make sure that in between my period of friendlies that there's a rest, at least 1 or 2 resting days, so the players can get back and not injure themselves by playing too many games. And then I switch the little slider there all the way over to the left for more match training. And then during the season, balanced low, stick the scheduling slider over to the right, either 1 notch over or 2, and then allow them to rest after the game, and then all individual training from there.
Nice. Definitely some good tips, and hopefully people will listen to this. Obviously, you can listen back and just quickly go back and forth between Ben's tips so you make sure you don't miss anything. Just quickly, the person Ben keeps on mentioning, you can find him at csportscentre.com. That's his website. Definitely worth checking it out. I've been reading it the last couple of days. Don't know if you've seen it, Ryan.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good site.
Mm.
Just on the side there, James has said lazy people / managers who don't play pre-season, then they wonder why the tactics don't work. One thing I would say, Ben, is your idea of playing all the weaker teams. Because I normally play low league management, obviously finances are really important. People who do need to play the bigger teams for financial gain, I'd recommend getting them games in very early in pre-season.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Then what I find is if you play, for example, with my Stockport County save, I got a game against Aston Villa. I got absolutely battered. So what I did was I arranged a week later a game against a very poor team, which boosted my morale back up. So get the tough games out the way early. You're getting good financial gain out of them. Then get 3 or 4 very easy games to finish pre-season off, which just gets your team's morale back up. Like Ben was saying, play the easy teams, keep your players happy. Daniel said he finds pre-season exciting. It helps you get into good form usually. Well, as long as it's a good one. Yeah, if you have a bad pre-season, you just know the league campaign's going to start poor. Sometimes, though, it can actually, your league campaign randomly will start very good after a poor pre-season.
I had a kind of mixed preseason for mine. I had a good start, absolutely smashed my reserve side as everybody does, and then it got off well to a decent start, and then I absolutely slumped in the middle, and that's when I realized I needed to change my old styles from FM14 and kind of tinker it a bit. Then it did pick up a bit, but I didn't start the season as well as I'd hoped. So it's always a game. You always hear in real life that managers saying that preseason doesn't mean anything. I mean, just look at Man United, how well they did in preseason and how bad they've done since. But it is important. The results matter, but not as much as they matter when the season starts. Let's say that much.
I suppose that's what you got to look at. The results matter, but not as much as having a happy team ready for the league.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got 1 minute left. So I'd just like quickly remind Daniel, congratulations, you won the competition. If you contact myself, Paul Wanderless, if you don't actually know who I am, I'd be surprised if you don't. I'm normally the person who's shouting at people. If you contact myself, I'll stay on for 15 minutes after the show's ended before I hit the sack. So if you contact me via Facebook, I'll sort out your code. If not, just email our website, our email address that you sent the competition to. Any last words, lads? No, Ben, you said you're going to open this tactic for people to download.
Yeah, I'll have a go.
Fantastic. Anything you want to say, Ryan?
Yep, check out my post, check out my save. You can all laugh at me for being sacked 5 times, but the journey will keep going.
You'll get to United one day. Also, remember, check out our YouTube channel. This goes straight on our YouTube channel, FMCentral channel. It goes straight on as soon as we've finished recording here, so you can listen back, share it with your friends if you think we've gave any good tips. Check out some other stuff on the channel, including my Savers Dunes FC. Give it a follow. The more views, the better. Keeps me happy. But cheers, lads. Thanks for coming on. And once again, another full show, near enough discussing the same thing, but people want it and people enjoy it. Good night.
Pleasure. Good night.